Hello, and welcome to Dose of Inspirational Light. In this episode, I would like to take this opportunity to talk to a very good friend of mine who you see on the screen. So, her name is Uma. I had been asked to talk about diversity and inclusion as a fill-in for somebody else, but that didn't work out. Just on the very last day, the lady who had broken her leg said, I can hobble on one leg and come to this event. And so she came, which is good because then I got to listen to Uma a bit more attentively. So the moment that she started talking, I just thought, oh, this is somebody who I need to spend more time with. Uma is a multi-award-winning mindset transformation coach, mindfulness trainer, and a keynote speaker. These three powerful, gigantic words right there. So we're very, very lucky to have her grace her presence in front of us. She's passionate about inspiring, motivating, and empowering people to become their best versions. Having just said that, she's definitely my tribe. She helps ambitious people to reprogram their minds, rewire their brains, and transform their lives. She's a workplace wellness advocate and an academic, and is currently pursuing her Master's of Research, which is leading to a PhD in mindfulness. Uma has been featured as one of the top female business coaches, empowering and inspiring in 2021. Wow. Along with Maria Forleo, and we all know her, in 50 plus media outlets, including Yahoo Finance. Uma's mission is to help people break barriers, tap into their unlimited potential, and become their best version. So I'm very excited to talk to her. Hope you guys are too. So, hi, Uma. Thank you for listening to my introduction.
Oh, you are such a darling, honestly. Uh, when you introduced, what a humbleness to say that you were you were considered as a backup for someone, but that requires a lot of strength and confidence in yourself to be able to pitch with that sort of a introduction. So that's so beautiful. And also I like the fact that look at the narrative that you brought into that conversation, that because of that, it allowed you to sit and then be more attentive to the speakers. That just demonstrate what a positive attitude you've got. And it's all about perspectives, right? There's one way of looking at it and saying, you know what, I was meant to be here. What is this? You asked me to come and speak, and now you say that the other speaker has come. That's a way of looking at it. But just that narrative of it allowed me to, be attentive. Hats off to you, honestly.
Well, it's true because the conversation or the narrative, it was all about relationships that particular day. And it was very exciting to listen to you, and you had so much wealth of knowledge. So I was really transfixed on you, actually. So beyond this general introduction, this generic introduction, tell me a little bit more about yourself. And, what I want to know is, who is Uma truly, beyond just those words that we've heard, the core of what makes you, you.
Your core. And I think I've always felt that at my core, I'd like to say that I'm this spiritual being. And, being here in order to learn and grow and allow my spirit to grow exponentially. I somehow, for some reason, believe that the reason we are here is that our spirit needs to grow, and it's taken this shape, this form, to be here in this world, to make a difference in people's life, and also to upgrade your spirit, if you will, so that you are full in yourself. You've really gone to the optimum stage. And I think for me at this point, Shika, is all about exploring my authentic self and leading up to self-actualization and ultimately altruism. I guess that is what I would say who I am.
Yeah, it's a very, very beautiful introduction. Having heard this introduction once at another podcast of yours, a very similar podcast, I was just amazed how similar your introduction was to mine at another event that I had gone on. I said to people, I said, look, for a long, long time, I've been in a corporate journey. And in my corporate journey, all I've done is do, because I was a human doing, because that's what corporate allows you to do. You just have to do. You're managing people, you're selling products, you're, talking to products and services, you're talking to a supply chain, you're just doing. It's just constantly on the go. And all I wanted to do was just be. And, as the definition says, just to be a human being. And what I discovered along this whole last year, since I started this new journey of mine, that actually I'm a spiritual being. So that is spiritual being that is trying to have a human experience, which was completely different to what I'd imagined, which was that I was a human being wanting something spiritual, but it was the other way around. So your introduction really resonates with me. Yeah.
That is beautiful. And no wonder you mentioned earlier that, you kind of, your tribe, your vibe attracts your tribe, right? So I guess we kind of attracted each other because we were vibing in that particular frequency,
Yeah.
I suppose.
Mindfulness, that's the title that you give yourself. You're this master title of mindfulness coach. So can you just start by giving me a little bit of insight into your personal journey about mindfulness? Like, what drew you to this practice in the first place? Were you always a mindfulness coach? And what does that mean? What does the word mindful mean?
Beautiful question, and very timely, actually, this topic, mainly because just to give an intro about what mindfulness is just being in the present moment in a short form. But as defined by John Kabat-Zinn, mindfulness is the awareness that arises from paying attention on purpose in the present moment and non-judgmentally. Yeah. And just like you said, Shika, I think at a point in my time, I was doing, same in the corporate environment, and forgot about the being. I forgot the fact that I was a human being. I was meant to be, and I was constantly doing, which led to stress, and stress over a long period of time led to burnout for me. And at that point, I'm thinking, well, I don't think this is the way to lead life. And other things had also been, compounding in my life, that I actually went into existential crisis. And I was like, what is this? How do I get out of it? And when I was thinking about ways to come out of the stresses and the negative thoughts and compulsive, negative thinking, and it was too much at one point. And I thought, okay, there has to be a way out.
Yes.
Medication, well, that's not my thing. And then I Google and I search for some stress management strategies, and there is meditation. And now I'm thinking, wow, but you know what? I don't want to be a Zen master. I don't want to be sitting in Himalayas and just forgetting about the doing and just being. I didn't seem to fit my bill. And then I was like, went further into the research. And that's when, Shika, I started to realize a concept about mindfulness, and that mindfulness is a way of living. It's not about doing something. Mindfulness is a lifestyle. And the more I started to learn about mindfulness, the more I got intrigued, because there was innumerable benefits because of being mindful. So with mindfulness, we are usually mindful. Our mind is full of thoughts and innumerable thoughts that it is just consuming us all day long, right? See, on a day, we have about 50,000 thoughts, of which 50% of our thoughts are negative thoughts. Yeah. And 92% of our thoughts come from the previous day. And hence, imagine we are constantly having these thoughts. What does it do to us? There's no space, there's no gap. And that's why our mind is full. And then we end up being mindless. But mindfulness is where you're being in the present moment. Yeah. And open to the unfolding of experiences, accepting things as they are without wanting them to be any different, and having a sense of passion and a non-judgmental attitude towards our experiences. What a beautiful state to be. it's a state of being. Yeah.
Mm.
And so that's where my journey towards mindfulness started. And when I started to embrace the principles of mindfulness, I started to see exponential transformation happening for me.
Mhm.
And that was in ways of emotional regulation, cognitive regulation. And what happens is, with mindfulness, your executive functions starts to perform at its peak. So that was my journey into mindfulness. And the moment I started to experience the benefits of mindfulness, I was like, I'm not stepping back. I'm diving more into this. I embarked on a research on mindfulness. I've
Mm.
recently submitted my Master of Research thesis, and this is about mindfulness for workplace wellness.
Mm.
And then I'm now embarking on my PhD journey.
Let's go back to a few things that you've said. One, you were experiencing a burnout, I heard. Could you expand on that first?
It was a lot to do with my work environment, which was highly stressful at that point. And I was pretty much starting from, rock bottom in my life, in different areas of my life, or in different phases. And I was trying to build everything. And in the process of doing that, I kind of, really lost the essence of living. It was all about getting things done, just getting to the next level, in a corporate environment, and especially mine was more of a hospitality background. And
Mm.
I was working as an academic in the city. I was also working at the Emirates one and only at Bulgan Valley. So I was kind of commuting between two places. And this got me totally exhausted. And the environment was pretty, stressful for me. And I
Mm.
realized that it's not about the environment, it's about my inability. I didn't have the coping skills, because we know that's how hospitality is. We know that's how corporate environment is. It's not
Mm.
about going and changing the environment. There's only so much you can change the environment. But how do you manage your internal environment and, manage your emotions in a way that you can achieve stress reduction, peak performance, and overall well-being? That was my agenda through mindfulness.
Mm.
And having learned those skills to manage my emotions, I was able to, really, as I said, manage my stress, start to achieve performance, and also my well-being started to improve.
Mm. Yeah, no, workplace can definitely be stressful, and I totally understand that. And I'm glad that you were able to achieve some kind of balance through mindfulness. And we'll understand this a little bit more, and what are the strategies for people who are experiencing that.
Yeah.
So, Uma, we talked about meditation or medication, but what was going on in your personal life that led you to those two choices? Was it just the work-related stuff, or was there more?
It was not just the work related stuff. I think, Shikha, there was this time where I had questions like, what is the purpose of my life, right? In a sense, that's where it all started. Asking myself, what was the purpose? I wake up one morning asking myself this question, and it was very confronting for me to, answer that question. I actually suppressed it. I'm like, this is too much. Shut up. Don't talk about it. I don't even know what my purpose is.
Mm.
And so I was shutting down that inner voice. And then there was this time where, when I said I was in existential crisis, this was at a point where my ex-husband had passed away due to health conditions. And then that sort of triggered a lot of things for me. It was a very hard time, even though, I had divorced by that time. Still, it's this person that, you've lived with, you've loved. And so it was a horrible feeling to see that happening. And things started to crumble. I think I just went into this, negative sort of domino effect was happening for me, where I told you, I'm thinking, what's the purpose of my life? And I had been suppressing it, and something like this happens in your life, and everything I started to question about life. And that's when also, Shika, I was waking up like in midnight. It'll be like I'd wake up at 11 o'clock sharp. And then whenever I see the time, it'll be 11:11. And then I'd be looking at a car number, it's 11:11. I started to freak out. And I'm like, what is going on here? Why this number? And then I wake up early morning, I'll wake up, it's 111. I really freaked out, Shika. And I started to find, what is this? What's this happening? Then I realized that it was an awakening. it was a moment of spiritual awakening, right? And that was enlightening, I would say, for me at that point, because it's like, okay, this is what's happening to me. That is why this discomfort, and I'm not feeling comfortable where I am. And I needed to make a change. I needed to make a shift. That was what was going on for me at that time. And then something more interesting. So the more I was learning about 1111, I understood that it's an angel number, it's a spiritual number, and that every number 2222 has, see, for those who believe, you believe. Those who get
Yes.
it, get it. And
Yes.
if it's not something we don't get it or we don't understand, that's okay too.
Yes.
It's just very personal perspective, and there's nothing right or wrong about believing or not believing in it. So just wanted to set the record straight here that, just because I'm saying it doesn't mean that it has to be true. Maybe it's just true for me, right?
Yeah.
And it's true for many people too. So I then started to go and look into my birth date, which is 1st of January, 1973. And then you add up each one of those numbers, you'll see that is 1111. And I'm like, okay, there's something definitely going on here. And I guess that was the starting towards that awakening and enlightenment, or the journey towards spirituality actually started there. And very recently, I also ended up getting it tattooed here. I don't know if you can see.
Oh, wow. That really impacted you, huh? Actually, I wanted to tell you, same thing has happened to me since last year when I left my corporate role. This is why I'm saying the synchronicity is amazing. I woke up, my dad passed away last year, a lot of different things that happened. I decided not to pursue a full-time corporate role because all I was doing was just doing, and I wanted to take a break. And I kept seeing 1111 everywhere. It was ones and twos, actually. It was 1111. The car played the timing every time in the afternoon. It'd be 1111. It would be 2222 or 1111 or 1212 2121. It was twos and ones. And even today, and I take pictures of it, actually, the screenshots, so I can tell on the day, which days have I seen this 1111 or 2222. And it's amazing. These, and I didn't even know what angels were, or even now I'm not 100% sure, but all I know is that there's something where the universe is kind of guiding you to say, look, there is something more to you, and you just need to wake up. And what that waking up moment is, and I'm so happy that you found your moment. I'm still discovering mine because it's only recent for me. And yeah, it's just crazy, it's just and I'm so happy to see that you've actually printed it, tattooed it on your wrist. That's awesome. Wow, Uma, that really has impacted you, huh?
It has really impacted me, and I think it's very dear, and I think it's just a reminder that there's something beyond us, there's something bigger than us, and that gives us so much confidence to navigate through the challenges we have in our day-to-day life.
Yes, meant for more. I have a purpose, and this altruistic thing that you just mentioned at the start in your introduction, that's awesome. That's what we all need to aim to become. But the fact that you said it's just amazing. So back to the journey. So you went through this hard time, you got the spiritual awakening, messages from the universe, 1111, you saw everywhere. You said, okay, I need to do something about this. And then you discovered this mindfulness journey, and mindfulness, as you have defined it, being present, etc. So for somebody listening, probably in the same situation where they're going through some hardships, they want to find perhaps their purpose in life, or trying to understand how to be mindful, and even for meditation, for example, you don't need to go to the Himalayas and meditate. Meditation can happen daily. It's just a matter of quietening your brain, and that could be through the breath. It could be through other things, but and I'm also discovering that path, but a different path, and we'll talk about that later. But for you, you discovered that mindfulness worked for you. So somebody listening now, what is it? What's the strategy that you could give them, you know, where there's 92% of your thoughts are negative from yesterday, as you also mentioned, which is profound statistic. So what is it that they can do? What is it that we could do to get out of this rut?
Again, with that one, which is very important for many of our audience who'd be listening up, is that how do you manage that mind chatter? How do you stop that mind chatter that is 24/7 consuming? And it's so exhausting, right? It's such a depleting energy. And so the way I would say is that mindfulness, as I mentioned earlier, it's a lifestyle. It's not something that you do for a while and then just not do for a while. So the way it works is that there are many ways to practice mindfulness, and there is a formal and an informal way. So when I say formal, it's more systematic, where we sit and meditate, right? So it could be a body scan, it could be a breath work, it could be just sitting quiet, a guided meditation. That's part of it. It can be 20 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 minute, half a second. That's fine. But that's where you're really quietening your mind. Yeah. And then the other part of that is an informal practice. And how does that look like? Mindful eating, mindful talking, mindful listening, mindful drinking. So anything that you do, you are in the moment while doing it. So when having a sip of your tea, you're not thinking about, oh, what am I going to cook? Or you're not thinking, oh, what happened? Because most often we are either in the past, thinking or regretting about things that's happened in our life, or the future, anxious and fearful of what might happen in the future. So seldom we are in the moment. So mindfulness is where we draw our attention, your anchor, your breath. So if anyone is feeling distracted, take a deep breath in and exhale, and boom, you are in the moment. So that's where I'd like to encourage people to start. Of course, there are very, courses and programs that we could do to learn mindfulness, but in its simplest form, you just have to sit quietly for a while, allow your breath to guide you, and be in the moment. If you were doing systematic and the informal ways, anything and everything you do, be in the moment.
Yeah, definitely. That's the way to go. So would you know, for example, if somebody is suffering from anxiety? And because the reason I asked this is because this was me a year ago. Like, I was hyperventilating, because I don't know whether it was the fear of the unknown, because, leaving or deciding something that is outside your comfort zone, it's a very overwhelming thing. And then dealing with grief is, again, an overwhelming thing. And so all of that combined made me like hyperventilate. People were like, come back to your breath, breathe. But even that breath was hyperventilated, So what is it, how, if you are in that extreme situation, and I met you a year ago, what would you have advised me, or what would you advise to others perhaps listening?
Shikha, good point there. And I can really say from experience, because I've had the same thing. Interesting, Shikha, we haven't spoken much about a lot of these things, but I see the similarities that underlying. No wonder we connected like this. I was having the same, anxiety and panic attacks.
Yes.
And at that time, I didn't know what anxiety was. I didn't know what depression was. I didn't even know what a panic attack was. And now I'm experiencing all these things. And the first thing I did was, even before that, I was forgetting names. I'd see someone and I'm like, what's this person's name? It was so embarrassing. At work, you don't know, you meet this, you've known this person for so long, but you forget the name. I don't know where I kept my keys. I don't know whether I showered, I put shampoo or conditioner shampoo, all these sort of things, which I really freaked out. And I even remember going to a doctor and I said, doctor, I think I've got Alzheimer's. I said, what? You've got what? I think Alzheimer's. I'm forgetting things and I can't remember things. And then he's go, you looking at you, I don't think you are in an age for that. You sure don't have that problem. You are under terrible stress. And that's when, oh, okay. So what am I supposed to do? Is it do something so that you can de-stress? That was one thing where I was learning about what's happening to me. Second is the panic attack and anxiety. And I Google up and say, why am I feeling, I won't feel like vomiting. I just feel like my heart is just here in my ears. What's going on? And then I realized, okay, that's panic attack. But what I then learned through mindfulness is when those things happen, the best thing is to practice mindfulness. And when I mean by that, it's hard. Like, you're hyperventilating or you're feeling so anxious. And where do I think about practicing mindfulness? It's all about just breathing. Okay. Taking a deep breath in and exhaling. Inhale and exhale. So what really happens when we do that is we are calming down our neuro pathways in the muscles, and the neuro system gets calmed down. It's slowly calm. There's no way that you could be being in a state of calmness and also feeling anxious at the same time, right? So when we take deep breath in and exhale, your system starts to calm down slowly by slowly. It'll take a while, but we need to sit with it. And most importantly, Shika, what I'd like to say is most people try to push away their emotions. So when you feel sad, when you feel fearful, when you feel angry, what do? We want to push it away. We want to suppress. But the more we suppress, the more we distract, the more we push away, the more it rebounds. So the solution here is to sit with that emotion. Say, for example, when a nice thing happens, what do? Maybe a nice call, we've received a gift, we're going for dinner. We embrace it, don't we? We want to just sit with those nice emotions. But when it comes to difficult emotions, why do we want to push it away? And in pushing it away doesn't help us anyway. But you'll be very surprised to notice. Now, say, for example, someone is feeling anxious. That could be feeling fearful. That could be feeling emotional, angry, resentful. Just gently close your eyes. And I'd like the person to identify where in our body do we feel that emotion. It could be in your neck, in your chest, can be in your stomach or in your shoulders. First, to identify where in your body do you feel that emotion. Next is to just invite it as if, or embrace it as if you invited it. That level of compassion and acceptance of those emotions. You'd be also surprised to see that those emotions will start to dissolve. All that emotion is seeking is attention and acceptance and acknowledgement. And I call it the 3A. So you acknowledge and you accept it. And when you do that, when you accept and acknowledge those feelings, you start to see that it'll start to diminish. So that's the best way. Anyone going through anxiety, because according to this research or the findings of John Kabat-Zinn's work on mindfulness, so it's basically an Eastern philosophy brought into the Western science through evidence-based research. There's this 8-week mindfulness program for stress reduction. And in doing an 8-week program, we see considerable changes in people's stress responses. So the prefrontal cortex area, we can start to see this formation of gray matter. And that means that there is changes. So there are scanning and imaging where you can do and see the changes after an 8-week mindfulness program. They learn the key principles of mindfulness. So different aspects to mindfulness, which includes compassion, being in the present moment, non-judgment, acceptance. There's an important aspect called ego. In fact, in today's session that I ran for Western Sydney University, ego and how ego can be so disruptive in terms of how we experience life. And when we say ego, people mostly think, oh, that's just, high-headed or something. It's way beyond that.
If we can find compassion and gratitude in our lives, that those two words are just so powerful.
Things like gratitude, love, contribution, all this compassion, all these things are very high vibrational energy. And other things like complaint or jealousy or anger or resentment, non-forgiveness are lower level frequency. Now, we're all trying to get good people in our life, good things happening to us, and we want to attract good things into our life. But when bad things happen, we wonder why. Rather than saying, oh, why me, poor me, or victim me, just think about what was I thinking? How was I being? Why was I going through this? For anyone out there, just remember just that being grateful for things that you even don't already have, you attract it into your life.
Yes.
Yeah.
What are the common signs and symptoms of stress, firstly, that people should be aware of?
Yeah. So talking about stress, the World Health Organization has defined stress as a state of worry. It's a mental tension, and it's caused by difficult situation. Could be competing priorities, emotional stress, things happening to us. It's a very natural response to things that's happening around us. Interestingly, in the hunter's time, stress was because, okay, there is a threat coming, and then you get stressed so that you can get prepared, and then you can flight or fright and freeze and all those stuff, right? But
Mm.
now we've carried on, and now we get stressed by all these external factors, like, having a deadline, anxious about something, fearing something, when there's really no threat there, right? But
Mm.
that's a psychological construct that we've got used to,
Mm.
and we start getting stressed around these things. And another study, extensive study about stress and health, is in looking into stress from the psychological, behavioral, and biological variables. And the National Institute of Health also has published that it can lead to cardiovascular disease, upper respiratory disease, and also human immunodeficiency virus, inflammation, and a lot of things we can't even see. As you said, it's like a silent killer. And
Mm.
then there's anxiety, irritability. And when we are stressed, what do? We are unable to focus, we are unable to concentrate. Then we have difficulty in breathing, and then we have all those psychological and physiological symptoms.
Mm.
Yeah. And also, it as I said, it can be a silent killer and profound impact on mental and emotional well-being of people. Scientific evidence that this researcher shared on that Netflix documentary, that
Mm.
when we have the active coping mechanism to deal
Mm.
with stress is good. A little bit of stress. Yeah.
Yeah.
Problem here is we don't have those active coping mechanism, and people resort to unresourceful ways to cope with stress, like probably
Mm.
addictions or eating, right, to manage stress. This is where the beautiful aspect of mindfulness is an active and resourceful, positive coping mechanism for stress.
Mm. The science behind the brain waves. People say brain waves such as alpha, beta, gamma, they all relate to mindfulness practice. And I have seen also in the consciousness chart, because I did a podcast with Sister Ananya, which was my first 2 podcasts. I delved into like David R. Hawkins' work on consciousness level, and I'm going to bring it up on screen so people can see what I'm talking about. Can you just talk about that before I ask my next question?
Yes. So with the consciousness level, what we're trying to explain here is if we can relate it to brain waves. Now, brain waves are altered states of mind. Yeah. And in fact, right now, as we're speaking, brain waves are being working. It's working in the background. Yeah. And because it's always producing waves. It is just about what sort of waves are we producing, and the different kind of brain waves we produce, because these are all electrical signals, and that is through if you meditate, you're in a certain brain wave. When you're sleeping, you're in a certain brain wave. When you're in the shower, you are in a different brain wave, right? So
Mm-hmm.
each second, our brain is producing millions or trillions of these electronic impulses, and they sort of navigate between our neurons and brain cells, and then it connects and syndicates, and it produces a system through which we have certain experiences in our life. Yeah. So human brain waves, we have the delta wave, which is when we are in deep state, we are in delta wave. It's not very active, it's sort of very subtle. And then we have the theta wave, and everything has a frequency. And at the theta wave level, we are more creative. Have you seen when you're in the shower, you get new ideas? You're always coming up with ideas when you're in the shower. In fact, I've got a pen, and I've got on the glass shower cubicle. The moment I get an idea, I will write there, because I keep getting so many ideas when I'm there, right?
Oh, really?
And
Oh.
yeah, really, really, you observe and see when you're in the shower, you'll get a lot of ideas. And I'm like, where do I record these ideas? So I decided to keep a a pen that can write on the glass, the marker, and I just write it there. And then you have the alpha wave. And the alpha wave is where, in a more relaxed state of mind, You have the alpha wave, that is through meditation. And the beta wave is where you're more, problem solving. You're very active. Whatever we're doing right now, we are in the beta wave state. Okay, right now we are in the beta wave state. And then you have the gamma, which is the heightened sense of awareness.
So what's the best state to be in?
I wouldn't say there's a best state to be, because you need to be in all these states to enjoy life and experience life in its fullest form. Like if, say, for example, you're constantly in an alpha state, you're so calm, you're so meditative, you're so much in balance and peace. Where are you going to get stuff done? Where are you going to get work done? So you've got to shift into beta wave to be able to do problem solving. And then if you're always problem solving, where do you get creative and come up with creative ideas? So you got to shift into theta wave. So this is sort of, and then you got to sleep. If you're sleeping, you can't be in alpha male or alpha wave or beta or gamma. You got to be in delta. So it's about balancing and knowing what state does what to you, and just doing it. So naturally, certain states happen. Delta naturally happens. You go to bed. Theta happens because, when you're in the shower. Alpha is a bit difficult. That's what people don't meditate. When they don't meditate, you can only get to an alpha state when you meditate. And then you've got this gamma state, which is this heightened sense of consciousness, which happens from prolonged sort of, that level of awareness. And then the beta state, which is literally being very active and other stuff. So it's a combination of everything.
Yeah, it's very fascinating, actually. And there's like all sorts of music I see, and this is all a new discovery for me, where, there's like, oh, you can put this music to be in this particular state, an alpha wave state, etc. How does the concept of consciousness connect to the mindfulness and personal growth?
It's very, very connected, extremely connected. That is just this fear that holds us back. And also, it's just that not being your authentic self and all those imposter syndromes, because not having the courage to be you, because there is this fear of what would people think about me, that self-consciousness. What we'd like to understand with consciousness is, there's a subconscious, then you have your superconscious. Now, what happens is we're all driven by subconscious conditioning. What it means is that at a subconscious level, we've got certain beliefs about who we are meant to be. And all those subconscious conditioning is developed from in your younger ages, 0 to 7 years development age, 7 to 13, 13 to 23. And then there can be defining moment happening in your life that could also create those beliefs. Now, interestingly, what we do as human beings is when we have a certain belief, say, for example, a belief that I'm not good enough, or a belief that I am the best person on this planet, whatever that belief is, right? Our subconscious mind is constantly seeking evidence to make that belief a reality.
Okay, yeah. So it's very important.
Yes. All it does is it's going to match people, places, and events to make sure that your belief becomes a reality. Because at a subconscious level, that's what's working for you, because we're not anyway conscious. We're not mindful. Mindfulness, then you're conscious. Then you can see between perception and reality. But if you're not mindful and you're mindful or mindless, then what happens is that you don't know the difference between perception and reality. And that is what creates the problem. And hence, it is very important to overcome those subconscious beliefs and limiting beliefs, sabotaging belief, and tap into a super consciousness through the practice of mindfulness. That way, we know who we truly are. We truly know that we are this connected to the higher consciousness. We are all, what I'd really love to see is the collective consciousness. Imagine, Shika, everybody on the planet being more mindful and being more conscious. What can that collective consciousness do to us? We are consciously connected to the trees, to the plant. Just imagine people getting connected. The work that I do with organizations is to build conscious leaders so that the decisions that's made, everything that's done is done for the higher purpose, for the higher good. So that's where consciousness comes in, and, coming away from subconscious conditioning and transcending towards superconsciousness.
It's definitely something that we need to be aware of. And people are waking up, Uma. We are waking up. The fact that we're spiritual beings. I mean, the fact that, if somebody said this 10 years ago that we're coming from spirit, people would be thinking ghosts or, nobody would even understand what we were saying. How can mindfulness today help our relationships? Because I find one of the major things that perhaps causes people stress today is friction of your belief or your expectation versus another person's expectations and belief. And then this leads to, if I could say, unharmony, if there's such a word. So how can we bring mindfulness so that we can make our relationships a bit more united and harmonious?
Oh, great ways that we could bring mindfulness into relationship to have harmonious and happy relationship, healthy, happy and harmonious relationship. And how does that look like? Let's first think about, why do frictions happen? Why do we have problems in relationship? Be it, as you said, personal relationship, professional relationship, we just saying simply relationship, right?
Yeah.
So frictions happen when we end up with unmet needs. That's where the friction happens. That's where the starting point of the problem. And that is because of a values misalignment. You mentioned that earlier. So yes, there's values misalignment. And it's okay that both of you don't have to have exactly the same value. There has to be some sort of a alignment, but not that there could be some values that's slightly different. But then how do you live with it? Here's the thing, is understanding, how do I meet the need of the other person? And that'll happen only when we are in a conscious state. When we are on an autopilot mode, there's no room for being consciously connected with that person that we have this relationship with. So that is why say, for example, say partners or husband and wife. So the husband might say something and the wife might not be even listening, consciously listening. So before this person ends the conversation, the other person has already started to answer. And the person has never considered what this person was trying to say. How does a mindful conversation look like? So when someone is saying something, you're completely present with this person. So undivided attention to what this person is saying. How would you treat a client? How would you treat a customer? That's how we want to treat our close family and friend relationship as well. So giving that undivided attention, not looking into the phone, not making faces, but just being present and listening to this person completely, with being in the present moment. And then once that person has shared their views, now you might have a totally different perspective on it, and that's fine. You can agree to disagree, but how do you do that in a nice and courteous manner? And that's where you'd say, wow, this is interesting. Well, I have a different perspective towards this. Are you happy for me to share this with you? Can we talk about that? I'd like to share my perspective. And then now this person cannot say, no, you cannot share your perspective, obviously.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Tell me what you're thinking about. And then you'd say, you know what, this is what I'm thinking. What do you think about this now? Do you think we can find a common ground? How does this look? See, when you are being mindful, when we are being present and being absolutely non-judgmental about that person's perspective. And this is where we're very already critical. We've already had some mental construct about this person. So being non-judgmental and being compassionate, don't know what this person is coming from. Let me be compassionate towards this person and accepting of this person's thought process. That way, being in the present moment and being devoid of ego, because ego is where you're labeling yourself as I am this, I am that, labeling yourself based on your achievements, on your roles. Now let's disregard all those things. You're just this human being and that's that human being sharing some information. So bringing that level of mindfulness into relationship, because here's where you're not reacting to things happening, you are responding. And responding is nothing but responsibility, the ability to respond. So that is responsibility, right? So rather than just shouting, yelling, reacting, you are responding. Maybe this is triggering something. You can always say, can I think about this and come back? I'm not in the right mind space to talk about this. Can we take some space so that I can think about this? So do you say, there are so many ways you can deal with it, but never react. It's about response, and mindfulness helps with emotional regulation, where you can respond rather than react.
That's wonderful, actually.
I think will really help our audience when we share more practical tips and ways to talk, Now, with this, there's also one more aspect. We need to set boundaries, expectations, and standards, saying what is acceptable and what are your non-negotiable. You know, controlling or raising voice, these things are non-negotiable. We don't want that happening. But you don't tell that when you're in the midst of a conversation or an angry sort of a situation. It's more at a time when you're in a relaxed situation, saying, can we set some standards and, expectations around our relationship? Shall we set some boundaries of what are accepted and what are not acceptable? And there are also ways, until two people get to that point, what you actually do is you could say, okay, it's red flag now, it's orange flag now. So you can sort of prompt and say, I'm getting to this red zone, I'm at this orange zone, and just give indication to the other person that you are going to be getting angry soon, because it's going to take time for any person to get all these, in practice. At the same time, when those sort of conversations are happening, I think it's very important to have few things in mind. That how ready are you, realizing that there will be problem and rupture within relationship? How much do you believe that you can repair the relationship? How ready are you to repair the relationship? And how will you repair the relationship? That has to be the thought process when it comes to any problem. So these are conversations where it would be like, rather than saying you did this, it's like, this situation happened and it made me feel this way. Not that I got hurt, you hurt me. There is no you, there's always we. So when we say, when we had this conversation, this topic came up and it made me feel this way. So me and we, me and we. So we, the other way around, is me. Me, the other way around, is we. So it's easy to remember this framework. Me, it made me feel this way, or it made me feel bad about the situation. How can we work through this? So it's not like you did something. Never use the word you. It's always being very inclusive.
Yes, it's very it's something that we all need to learn. It's very good strategy, and just a matter of practice, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
matter of practice.
Yes. Mindfulness coach, academic, PhD, wellness, award-winning labels. I think you've got it all. What's next? Or is there room for next?
I think definitely yes, because as I mentioned earlier, at least I've got to a point of being able to be my authentic self and being unapologetic of being who I am, and apologetic to be just me. And it's okay to be. And also to the next level of, as I said, self-actualization. I'm on that journey and getting to altruism. And I think where I see myself in the future in terms of the work that I'm doing is definitely, I'd love to start a retreat center, which is a holistic retreat center that's going to cater to varied audience of different, sectors and industries and businesses and communities, to come to a place where there is a complete sense of rejuvenation and, revival, I think, which is really, really very important. It would include everything from food to nutrition to health and mind, body, spirit well-being sort of an thing. That's something that's been on my mind for a very, very long time. But at the moment, the eye on the prize is my PhD. I'd love to explore further as to see. Now I'm going to be working with 3 industries that's more related to healthcare, and I'm going to look into hotels, and I'm also going to look into the education sector. So I'm bringing this together, really excited about the research that I'm going to be doing. And hence that contribution to academia and to the industry, and then get on to the retreat.
Wow. How long before you finish your PhD?
That's a 4-year journey, or 3 years, 3 to 4 years. Yeah, but I guess I might not actually wait until I finish my PhD. The focus would be the PhD, but we never know where. But one thing for Shika for sure is that I just want to be traveling the world. So I'm seeking freedom of, traveling the world and living my purpose.
Yes. Yeah. No, that sounds beautiful, actually, and nothing stopping you, So definitely spread the word, spread the wings, and who knows, the work can lead you to the travel, and if you combine the two, why not? That's a good thing.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Uma, for sharing your insights. I learned a lot personally. There's so much more to ask you, but perhaps we'll do that offline. Hopefully the audience learned something from it as well. And, there's more to come. And if there's any questions that you'd like to ask Uma, please leave a comment. I would really appreciate that. That would really help both of us in our journeys as well. Okay, so let's get to know you a little bit better, which requires a rapid fire round, which is how I end my sessions or my podcasts. So just to know Uma a little bit, Uma, tea or coffee?
Coffee, because I like the coffee culture.
Ah, very nice. Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Yeah. Okay, beautiful. Oh, books or movies? I think we know that one, but let's see.
I honestly like to say books because I like books. You're not giving me a choice here. It's a very, very tight thing. But I like movies because I like to see things visually, just
Yes.
seeing. But not when I say movies, it's really, no, I think I should go back to books because books is more enriching. So I'm going to go for books. Yeah.
Both. You could say both.
Both. I know.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, speaking of books, any favorite books?
The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle.
Yes. Okay.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Yes. A friend of mine gifted me for Christmas. I haven't read it yet, but I've got that book.
And there's a huge section on relationships in that book. So, everything about mindfulness and relationships. Everybody should read that book. Please give it a go.
Nice. Thank you for that recommendation. And you said books and movies. So favorite movie?
50 First Dates.
Ah, interesting. Very nice. Uma, favorite quote?
Oh, I love this by Albert Einstein that says, you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created the problem. And that's where coaching comes into the place where you change the way you think, because you can't solve the problem until you solve the thinking that created the problem. So now we think differently, right? That's why I love that quote.
Yes, beautiful.
Funny.
Are you an animal person?
I love dogs. I love dogs.
Yeah. Do you have a dog? No.
I used to have one. I want to get one. This cute little small poodle, cavoodle. That's my thing. I had a Shih Tzu, and his name was Bunny. Wonderful one. Yes, I love dogs.
Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. Favorite season?
I really love winter. I love winter. Yes.
Oh wow. Any reason why?
Yeah, it's just the atmosphere is so cool and nice and chilled, and I don't like too much of heat. And like it was unbelievably hot, like scorching hot in the morning, and we're just into spring. So I think that's why I like winter. It's just keeps
the whole rugging up part and everything that works well.
I love it. I love to rug up and feel warm and cozy, and I love it.
Well, that's it from me, Uma. Thank you so much for joining me again on this podcast. And yeah, I look forward to hopefully some comments, and then that would give us more incentive to do more.
And thank you so much for having me. I feel just definitely very much privileged, and I'm so glad that the universe has brought us together. I believe there's such a big journey for us ahead, and I can't wait to unpack what that holds for both of us.
Yes,
thank you. And thanks to the audience. And I'll love you all and leave you, but to connect with you again very soon.
Thank you so much, Uma.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, everybody. And thanks for watching. We would really appreciate your support if you could press the subscribe button. Please like and subscribe to this video because a lot of work goes behind it. And I want to continue doing more of these podcasts, and it would really help me and help our speakers if you could like and subscribe to our videos.